What's up, guys? Coming at you from Shenzhen, China again, as usual. Not driving around, though. I don't have a reason to go out, so I will be stationary. And a little bit of a later update. It's an evening update. I just finished dinner. We were all up pretty late last night watching Netflix, so that's why I'm getting a bit of a later start today. What did we watch? I know we finished on the Taylor Swift documentary. Don't judge. That was for my wife, but she's cool anyway, so it's all right. You can judge. But so what's going on? I'll just give you some updates from the ground, what it's like to be here with, the whole coronavirus situation and some observations, some things I've heard. So there is, just before I actually turned this on, there were some, looked like government officials walking through the garden. They looked like the guys who are like FDA or health department, but they weren't wearing those white biohazardous suits. Thank goodness, because if you start seeing them come in, that means probably somebody in this complex has coronavirus. But they weren't, and I have seen what happens when a place is confirmed to have an instance. One of my friends from Guiyang sent me a video where there was a particular person who wasn't transparent with the fact that they went to Hubei, and it was the worst possible situation. They owned a mahjong shop, which is, so a game that people play here, and it's a social setting, so you're gonna get a lot of people coming through. They also do takeaway food. So they basically implicated the entire complex. And then that's when you saw the white suits coming in. That's when you know something serious is going on. But no, not here. Everything's okay here. I think they're probably coming to check on the security guards, because I think the government's handed down a bunch of regulations and requirements for all security in all of the buildings, where they've got to check people's temperatures as they're coming in or as they're going out, and all kinds of other things. There's a lot of controls going in place. My brew pub, when I was there picking up my stuff, I saw there was a note slipped under our door, and it gave us the information about if we did want to open, all of the things we need to do. We have to prepare temperature checking things, the digital thermometers, the alcohol, what we need to do every day, that we need to disinfect the entire place every day. And even if I did want to open, it's like, who's going to come out? Who's going to come out to hang out in a bar at a time like this? And I think it would just be a little bit irresponsible. So yeah, a lot of controls in place. They are pretty good, but some of them are questionable, and I think that's kind of natural. There's going to be some stories you hear where it's like, what the heck? What's going on? Now, one of them is from my wife's friend. She took a train and she ordered a ticket from the first class cabin, and it was the same as, I've only been on the first class cabin in China on the high-speed trains once, and it was from Chongqing to Shenzhen, and there's only 4 seats per cabin on those first class cabins, and oftentimes there's only one cabin like that. So she specifically got that because she didn't want to be mixing with a lot of other people, or she wanted to kind of stay somewhat isolated. But what ended up happening was somebody in cabin 2, so she's in cabin 1, somebody in cabin 2 ended up having a fever, and so not only cabin 2 got rounded up, but cabin 1, 2, and 3, and they all got taken on a bus to to some sort of a facility at the airport. And she was pretty upset by that, because here she is. She bought a ticket specifically to avoid mixing with people, and then she gets stuffed on a bus to go out there. They were all fine in the end. The person didn't have coronavirus, but it's still, there could have been somebody in there that's asymptomatic. Doesn't seem like the ideal kind of a situation. But the other concern she had was in terms of like, why would this facility be at the airport? I mean, somewhere isolated probably would be a little bit better. So that sounded a little bit weird. I think that's something that it doesn't sound like a good process that they have figured out. But everything else is, it's pretty much on lockdown, so to speak. The bridge, or actually all the ports to Hong Kong, will be closed somewhat on Saturday, as of Saturday. And you can still go to Hong Kong from China, but then you're going to go into a mandatory 14-day quarantine in some sort of a government facility. So that creates a problem for me. For some of my older subscribers, you probably saw I went to Hong Kong not too long ago to renew my Canadian passport, and I got to go back over there to pick it up. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm probably, depending on how long this goes, my passport's going to expire, my visa's going to expire, and I'm not sure what to do. I'm sure they'll have some allowances in place, because it's not deliberate negligence or anything like that, but it's creating a bit of a problem. I'll probably even contact the Canadian consulate and see if there's a way for them to have it shipped over here somehow. But because I kept my old passport, there was a requirement that I needed to go back in person to pick it up. So we'll see what happens with that. What else is going on? So the numbers outside of Hubei are looking pretty good. They're still increasing every day, but they're starting to increase at a lower percentage rate. So it shows signs of kind of tapering off. But in Hubei, it looks like they're just dealing with obviously a pretty big situation, and there's a lot of people concerned about it. It's a little bit more optimistic outside of Hubei, but inside, man, they're just really, they're really strapped for medical supplies, workers, and all that kind of stuff. The other thing you're starting to see in terms of numbers is that the recovered patients, the recovery numbers are increasing at a higher percentage, at a higher rate than the deaths. And I'm trying to think about that logically. I'm thinking there's might be one of two possible explanations for that. One is that perhaps if the coronavirus kind of attaches itself to somebody who infects somebody who has a compromised immune system, or who it's unfortunately destined to take, so to speak, you're going to know that way sooner than a healthy person catching coronavirus and being declared fully recovered. That recovery process might be longer than the process of kind of it taking somebody with a weaker immune system. And or it could just be that now we're at a position where the hospitals have a little bit more data in terms of what treatments are the most effective treatments. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of thinking out loud and thinking through the logic. But those are two possible explanations. But that is something positive to think about. And what else is going on? So another story I heard was there was a village, I think in northern China, where there were half a dozen plus people who had coronavirus. So the village is locked off now. Nobody's allowed to leave their homes, but there's a village leader who's going from door to door twice a day to check temperatures and also deliver whatever personal needs that these people have. So, I mean, hats off to people like that on the ground. When you got a situation like this, you got to do what you got to do, and there's people on the front lines like this putting themselves at risk. So, and I know I did another video thanking people like that, and I don't think I can say that enough. Some other kind of more sad stories also, though, in terms of, you know, they have a policy here for people who do succumb to coronavirus and they do pass away, that they cremate the bodies immediately. When you see these articles and you see the comments, there's a lot of people who obviously are sympathetic towards the family, saying that's rough. But there's also a lot of people that kind of understand in a situation like this, you know, that might be the best thing to do. But there was a really sad video of a person who was walking behind the vehicle taking the body away, and it was apparently her mother, and she was, of course, very upset. And I think that's, you know, an important thing to remember. Behind these numbers, there's a lot of sad stories as well, and as is the case for any illness, which has any sort of a death toll connected to it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we kind of get through it soon. I mean, just a lot of, you know, the worst stories I think that are undermining what everybody's doing are the people who are just not being transparent about having gone to Hubei province. There's a couple of them that got caught here in Shenzhen, and they are being penalized now. I don't know what the fine is or anything like that, but I think it's a necessary thing that they got to do. My friend was saying in Futian, the park behind his house, same thing. They caught a couple that they just came out from Hubei, and they're just wandering around in the public. It's so annoying because it's undermining so much of the hard work that the people are doing here. But, you know, we got to stay positive. There's a mix of people who are positive. There's some that are a little bit more panicked, as would be the case anywhere. You know, some people who are a little bit more anxious, particularly about the numbers in Hubei province. But we can just keep hoping for the best. I think I'm going to try to keep this video under 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up here. And I will try to do another vlog update tomorrow. It might be earlier in the morning, but we'll see what goes on. We'll see what kinds of things I hear, and if I have anything to kind of just get off my chest. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe and keep doing what we got to do. Take all the necessary precautions, and I'll catch you in the next video.